The massive alien ship hovered above New York City, casting a shadow over the United Nations building. Inside the main assembly hall, Commander Alice Howard stood at attention behind President Nathan Clark. Her dark blue uniform felt tight across her shoulders as tension filled the room. This was humanity's first official meeting with the Galactic Council, and everything about it felt wrong. The alien delegation sat across from the human representatives. Their leader, High Counselor Vrax, had skin that shimmered with a bluish tint under the lights. His four eyes blinked in different patterns as he spoke through the translator device. "We again extend our generous offer of protectorate status to Earth," Vrax said, his voice coming through the translator with an artificial smoothness. "Your species will benefit greatly from our advanced technology and protection. This is a standard arrangement for newcomers to the galactic community." Alice watched President Clark's face. He remained calm, but she had known him long enough to see the anger in his eyes. The terms the aliens had presented were not those of equals. They were the terms a master gives to a servant. President Clark leaned forward. "High Counselor, we appreciate your delegation traveling so far to meet with us. However, Earth must decline your offer as presented." A murmur ran through the alien delegation. Vrax's upper eyes widened, while his lower ones narrowed. "Perhaps you misunderstand," Vrax said. "This is not typically an offer one refuses. The Council has brought over 300 worlds into our protection. All have accepted, all have prospered." His tone remained pleasant, but Alice noted how the translator couldn't quite hide the edge in his voice. "We understand perfectly," President Clark replied. "But humans will only join a galactic community as equals, not as subjects. We are open to trade, cultural exchange, and mutual defense pacts. But we will not surrender our sovereignty," the aliens whispered among themselves. Alice noticed their skin colors shifting slightly. Was that their version of facial expressions? Whatever it was, they seemed shocked. "This is unprecedented," Vrax finally said. "Perhaps we should adjourn to allow your leaders time to reconsider this unwise position." Before President Clark could respond, Alice felt her secure communicator vibrate. She stepped back and checked the message from Lieutenant Greg Martinez, her second-in-command. "Commander, urgent alert. Multiple objects detected entering solar system at high speed. Military formation. Council ships." Alice's heart raced. She quickly moved back to the president and whispered the news in his ear. His expression didn't change, but he gave her a small nod. "High Counselor," President Clark said loudly, interrupting the alien delegation's private discussion. "Would you care to explain why a fleet of your warships is currently entering our solar system?" The room fell silent. Vrax's four eyes blinked rapidly and his skin turned a deeper blue. "A standard security precaution," he said smoothly. "Nothing for a future protectorate to be concerned about." Alice watched as President Clark stood up, slowly. "I think we're done here. Earth will not be threatened or coerced." "You misunderstand," Vrax began, but Clark cut him off. "No, I believe we understand perfectly. Your delegation has 24 hours to leave Earth. After that, we will consider any council ships in our solar system as hostile." The alien delegation erupted in angry chatter. Vrax stood up, his tall frame towering over the human representatives. "This is not how first contact proceedings work," he hissed, the translator struggling to keep up with his rapid speech. "No species has ever rejected council protection. You have no idea what forces you are dealing with. Perhaps the council has never dealt with humans before," President Clark replied calmly. The aliens stormed out, their robes swishing angrily against the marble floor. As soon as they left, the room burst into activity. Military officers rushed to the president's side, security personnel secured the doors, and government officials began making urgent calls. Alice approached the president. "Sir, we need to get you to the emergency command center." "How much time do we have, Commander Howard?" he asked quietly. "Based on their current speed, the council ships will be in Earth orbit within 6 hours." The president nodded grimly. "Implement Defense Protocol Alpha, and get me Dr. Miller immediately." 30 minutes later, Alice found herself in the underground command center beneath the Pentagon. Screens around the room showed the approaching alien fleet, 12 large vessels and numerous smaller craft, all headed directly for Earth. Dr. Patricia Miller, a small woman with intense eyes and prematurely gray hair, rushed into the room clutching a tablet computer. She headed straight for Alice and the President. "Mr. President, Commander," she said breathlessly, "I've finished analyzing the historical records the Council shared during our cultural exchange." "What have you found?" President Clark asked. "It's worse than we thought," Dr. Miller said, pulling up diagrams on her tablet. "Every species that accepted protectorate status eventually lost all autonomy. The pattern is clear. First comes protection, then guidance, then complete control. Within 3 generations, former protectorates are essentially slave worlds, providing resources and soldiers for the Council." Alice felt cold dread in her stomach. "They never expected us to say no." "Exactly," Dr. Miller said. "In their entire history, no species has ever rejected their offer. They came expecting to add Earth to their collection, not to negotiate as equals." President Clark's face hardened. "Then we've made the right choice, however difficult the consequences may be." A young officer rushed up to them. "Sir, we're getting reports of smaller Council craft entering Earth's atmosphere. They're heading for major cities worldwide." Alice checked her tactical display. "They're not attacking yet. Looks like positioning for a show of force. They expect us to surrender after a demonstration of their power," the President said. "Typical bullies." "Sir," Alice said, "Lieutenant Martinez reports that our lunar defense grid is ready. General Powell confirms all Earth Defense Fleet ships are in position." "And Dr. Taylor's team?" the President asked. "The signal disruption system is online and ready." President Clark looked around the room at the assembled military and scientific leaders of Earth. "Ladies and gentlemen, when I rejected the Council's offer, I did so knowing this moment might come. Humanity has prepared for extraterrestrial threats since we first looked to the stars. Today, we will show the galaxy that humans bow to no one." He turned to Alice. "Commander Howard, you have my authorization to implement Operation Defiance." Alice nodded and spoke into her secure communicator. "All units, this is Commander Howard. Operation Defiance is now active. I repeat, Operation Defiance is now active. Across Earth and on the secret lunar base, humanity's hidden defenses came to life. The Council ships moved closer, unaware that the supposedly primitive humans had been preparing for this day for decades. The first battle for Earth's freedom was about to begin." Admiral Frank Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the EDF Intrepid, Earth's most advanced warship. Through the main viewport, he watched as the alien Council vessels approached. Their ships were sleek and clearly more advanced than anything humans had built, but Frank felt no fear, only determination. "Status report," he ordered, his voice calm despite the tension filling the bridge. His tactical officer, Lieutenant Kate Wilson, responded immediately. "Council fleet has entered lunar orbit, Admiral. 12 major vessels and 26 smaller craft. They're deploying an attack formation." Frank nodded. The aliens were positioning themselves exactly as Earth's intelligence had predicted. They expected an easy victory against primitive humans. They were about to be surprised. "Any communication from them?" he asked. Communications Officer Steve Johnson checked his console. "Yes, sir. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, audio and visual. It's an ultimatum." "Put it on screen." The main display flickered, and High Counselor Vrax appeared. His blue skin seemed darker now, almost purple with what Frank guessed was anger. "People of Earth," Vrax said, his translator converting his alien speech. "Your leaders have foolishly rejected our generous offer of protection. This is most unfortunate. We have never encountered such ingratitude." Frank watched silently as the alien continued. "You have 6 Earth hours to reconsider. Accept your place as a protectorate of the Galactic Council, or we will be forced to demonstrate our power. A brief but necessary pacification." The message ended. Frank looked around at his crew. They were the best Earth had to offer, but they had never faced an alien threat before. No human had. "Sir," Lieutenant Wilson said, We're receiving a secure transmission from Earth Command. Put it through to my station. Commander Alice Howard's face appeared on his personal screen. She looked tired but focused. Admiral Rodriguez, Operation Defiance is active. The President has authorized full defensive measures. Dr. Taylor reports her systems are ready. Frank nodded. Understood, Commander. The Intrepid and the fleet are in position. We'll hold the line. Good luck, Admiral. Earth, command out. As the connection ended, Frank turned to his crew. Battle stations. Prepare for combat operations. Across the ship, warning lights flashed as the crew moved with practiced efficiency. The Intrepid might look primitive compared to the alien vessels, but it held secrets the Council knew nothing. About 500 miles below the lunar surface, Dr. Olivia Taylor worked in a hidden facility that officially didn't exist. Around her, dozens of engineers and scientists monitored complex equipment. This was the heart of humanity's secret defense program. All systems online, she reported to her team. Quantum interference array is charged and ready. During the first diplomatic meetings with the Council, Olivia had led the team that secretly analyzed alien technology. Within hours, they had discovered a critical weakness. The Council's advanced ships relied on quantum communication systems that operated on specific frequencies that could be disrupted. Dr. Taylor, one of her assistants called. Torsium, we're receiving the signal from command. It's time. Olivia took a deep breath. Activate the array, full spectrum. On the moon's surface, hidden weapons emerged from what had appeared to be ordinary craters. On Earth, missile silos that were supposedly decommissioned decades ago opened, and in orbit, satellites that the aliens had dismissed as primitive communication devices suddenly revealed their true purpose. Back on the Intrepid, Frank watched as the Council fleet began to move. Their smaller ships descended toward Earth, clearly planning to target major cities in a show of force. They're starting their demonstration, Lieutenant Wilson reported. Weapons charging on the smaller vessels. Frank nodded. Right on schedule. Signal Luna Base. Tell Dr. Taylor it's time. The tactical officer pressed several commands on her console. Signal sent, sir. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The Council ships continued their approach, weapons ready to fire on Earth's cities. Then everything changed. The alien vessels suddenly slowed. Some began to drift off course. Their formation, once precise, fell into disarray. It's working, Lieutenant Wilson said, unable to hide her excitement. Their systems are failing. Frank allowed himself a small smile. The quantum interference was working perfectly, disrupting the Council's communications and control systems. The aliens had no idea what was happening. All ships, Frank ordered. Move into attack positions. Target engines and weapons only. The President wants to avoid casualties if possible. Earth's supposedly primitive fleet surged forward. 20 warships, led by the Intrepid, moved to intercept the now confused alien vessels. On the Council flagship, Zextara, the alien commander, was in a state of shock. Nothing like this had ever happened before. His ship's advanced systems were failing and primitive human vessels were approaching rapidly. How is this possible? He demanded of his crew. They are barely a spacefaring species. His technology, officer, struggling with malfunctioning equipment, had no good answer. Unknown, Commander. Our quantum networks are experiencing unprecedented interference. Weapon systems are offline. Shields at 30% and failing. Zextara stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The humans had somehow disabled his fleet's most advanced technology that had helped the Council conquer hundreds of worlds. Send emergency signals to all ships, he ordered. Fall back to defensive positions. But the order couldn't get through. Their communications were jammed completely. Back on Earth in the Pentagon Command Center, Commander Alice Howard and President Clark watched the battle unfolding on their screens. It's working better than we hoped, Alice said quietly. President. Clark nodded. Now comes the hard part. We need to show them we could destroy them but choose not to. It's a fine line between demonstrating strength and starting a war we can't win. General Powell's team is ready with Phase 2, Alice reported. At that moment, Dr. Patricia Miller rushed into the command center. Mr. President, Commander, I've intercepted and translated emergency communications from the Council fleet. They're in complete disarray. They had no contingency plan for resistance. President Clark turned to Alice. Tell Admiral Rodriguez to proceed with targeted strikes. Disable but don't destroy. Alice relayed the orders. On the screens, they watched as Earth's fleet fired precise shots at the alien vessels, disabling engines and weapon systems, while carefully avoiding life support and crew quarters. Within 20 minutes, the entire Council attack force was dead, in space. Not destroyed, but completely helpless. President Clark picked up a secure communication device. This is President Clark. Patch me through to the Council flagship. After a moment of static, High Counselor Vrax's face appeared on screen. His blue skin had paled to an almost white color. This is Earth, President Clark said calmly. We have disabled your fleet as a demonstration of our resolve. We could have destroyed you, but that is not our way. Now perhaps we can discuss terms between equals. The alien leader stared in shock, all four of his eyes wide open. For the first time in the Galactic Council's long history, they had underestimated a species, and they had paid the price. The battle was over. The real challenge, diplomacy between equals, was about to begin. Captain Sofia Diaz checked her fighter craft's systems one last time. Through her cockpit, she could see Earth's blue curve below. Her squadron of 12 advanced fighters hovered in low orbit, waiting for orders. They were Earth's first line of defense against any Council ships that might break through the main fleet's blockade. Eagle Squadron, report in, she said into her helmet microphone. One by one, her pilots confirmed they were ready. They were the best Earth had to offer, handpicked from air forces around the world. None of them had ever fought aliens before today. Eagle Squadron, this is command, came a voice over the secure channel. We have Council dropships attempting to enter atmosphere. Intercept and disable. Do not destroy unless absolutely necessary. Copy. That command, Sophia replied. Moving to intercept now. She pushed her controls forward and her fighter responded instantly. The rest of the squadron followed in perfect formation. The new engines, developed using hints of alien technology gleaned from earlier surveillance, gave the fighters speed and maneuverability that would have been impossible just a year ago. On her tactical display, Sophia could see 5 Council dropships pushing through Earth's upper atmosphere. They were heading for major population centers: New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, and Tokyo. Classic intimidation tactics. Eagle Squadron split into pairs, she ordered. Each team take one target. Remember your training. Use the communication. Disruptors first. The fighters broke formation, racing toward their assigned targets. Sophia and her wingman, Lieutenant Aaron Miller, headed for the dropship approaching New York. Inside the Council dropship, Commander Zex Tara watched in confusion as his sensors detected approaching Earth vessels. His mission was supposed to be simple: fly over the human city with shields at full power, fire a few harmless but impressive energy bursts into unpopulated areas, and wait for the primitives to surrender. The Council had used this tactic successfully countless times before, but nothing about this mission was going as planned. First, the main fleet had somehow been disabled by Earth's primitive technology. Now these small fighter craft were approaching his dropship at speeds that shouldn't be possible for human technology. Raise shields to maximum, he ordered his crew. Prepare defensive measures only. His tactical officer responded with alarm in his voice. Commander, our shields are not responding properly, and our communications with the fleet are completely jammed. Before Zexatera could respond, his ship shook violently. Outside, Sophia's fighter had just launched a specialized EMP missile. It detonated near the alien dropship, sending precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses that targeted the alien shield. Systems. Direct hit, Lieutenant Miller reported. Their shields are fluctuating. Sophia nodded inside her helmet. Fire second wave, target their engines. Both fighters launched another volley of missiles. These weren't designed to destroy, just to disable. They struck the Council dropship with precision, causing its engines to sputter and fail. The alien vessel began to drift, no longer under power. Sophia could see its emergency systems kicking in, preventing a crash but leaving it helpless. Command, this is Eagle Leader, she reported. Target neutralized, standing by for further instructions. Similar reports came in from the other teams. All 5 Council dropships had been disabled within minutes of entering Earth's atmosphere. Not one had managed to complete its mission of intimidation. At the Pentagon Command Center, Commander Alice Howard listened to the reports with satisfaction. Every element of Operation Defiance was working perfectly. The aliens had severely underestimated human determination and ingenuity. Commander, we're receiving an urgent communication from General Powell, an aide reported. Alice turned to the main screen as General Daniel Powell's face appeared. The general was coordinating the ground defense from a separate command center. Commander, Howard, our intelligence teams have finished analyzing the Council's battlefield communications, Powell said, his voice firm and confident. Dr. Barnes reports her quantum interference array is ready for Phase 3. Alice nodded. Excellent, I'll inform the President immediately. She turned to find President Clark already standing behind her. He had been quietly observing the operation. Mr. President, we're ready for Phase 3, she reported. Clark's face was serious. Do we have confirmation that no Council ships have been destroyed? No alien casualties? Yes, sir. All Council vessels have been disabled only. Their life support systems remain fully functional. The President nodded. Then proceed with Phase 3. Alice turned back to the communications officer. Signal Dr. Barnes. Authorize Phase 3 activation. In a secure facility deep beneath the Colorado mountains, Dr. Michelle Barnes received the authorization code. Around her, dozens of scientists and engineers monitored the most advanced technology humans had ever built. A quantum interference array powerful enough to affect Council ships throughout the solar system. Begin final sequence, she ordered. Her team. The massive machine hummed to life. Unlike the smaller versions used in the initial attack, this device could target the Council's quantum communication network with absolute precision. It wouldn't just jam their signals. It would let humans listen in and even transmit on their secure frequencies. System at full power, reported one of the engineers. Ready to deploy. Dr. Barnes took a deep breath. Activate. Throughout the solar system, Council ships suddenly found themselves cut off from their secure network. Instead, they received a single transmission, a message from Earth in their own language and communication protocols. On the Council flagship, High Counselor, Vrax stared in disbelief at the message playing on all communication channels. It showed detailed schematics of Council technology, complete with annotations pointing out weaknesses and vulnerabilities. The humans had somehow analyzed their most advanced systems and found critical flaws. This is impossible, he whispered. How could they have gained this knowledge? The human message continued, showing footage of Council ships being disabled without being destroyed. Then President Clark appeared on screen. We could have destroyed your fleet, the human leader said. Calmly. Instead, we chose to demonstrate that we can neutralize your technology without bloodshed. Earth wishes no conflict with the Galactic Council, but we will not be subjugated. We offer a simple choice. Recognize Earth as an equal member of the galactic community, or leave our solar system and never return. Vrax felt a cold dread settle in his stomach. In thousands of years, no species had ever challenged the Council this way, and certainly none had possessed the ability to back up their defiance with action. High Counselor, his aide said urgently, we're receiving reports from all vessels. The humans have complete control of our communication systems. They could trigger our self-destruct protocols if they wished. Vrax closed all 4 of his eyes briefly. The Council had severely misjudged these humans. What they lacked in technological advancement, they made up for in determination and strategic thinking. Send a message to Earth Command, he said finally. Tell them the Council requests a ceasefire and diplomatic talks. As equals. The aide hurried to comply, but Vrax knew this was only the beginning. The news would spread quickly throughout the galaxy. A species that had stood up to the Council, and won. The political consequences would be enormous. For the first time in its long history, the mighty Galactic Council had met its match in a supposedly primitive species from a small blue planet. The Galactic Council's emergency chamber was in complete chaos. Representatives from over 200 species shouted over each other, demanding explanations. The massive circular room, usually a place of order and ceremony, now resembled a marketplace, at its busiest hour. At the center of the storm stood High Counselor Vrax, his blue skin pale with stress. The news had spread quickly throughout Council space. The humans of Earth had not only rejected Protectorate status, but had successfully defeated a Council fleet. It was unprecedented. "Order!" Vrax shouted, his voice amplified by the chamber's systems. "The Council will have order!" Slowly, the noise died down. Hundreds of alien eyes turned toward him, filled with questions and, in many cases, barely hidden excitement. "The reports you have heard are mostly true," Vrax admitted reluctantly. "The humans of Earth have demonstrated unexpected capabilities. They disabled our ships without destroying them." A representative from the Arcosian species, a tall being with bark-like skin, stood up. "How is this possible? They are primitive newcomers to space travel. We underestimated them," Vrax said. "They appear to have been studying our technology since first contact, identifying vulnerabilities we did not know existed." The chamber erupted again. Many Council species had long suspected the ruling members of keeping technological advantages for themselves. This seemed to confirm their suspicions. As Vrax struggled to maintain control of the meeting, a human ship entered the HFY Proxima Centauri system, home to the Council's neutral meeting grounds. It was a small diplomatic vessel, but its arrival sent shockwaves through the Council's security forces. Ambassador Kevin Wright stood on the bridge of the EDF Diplomat, straightening his formal suit as they approached the Council's massive space station. He was a seasoned diplomat, but this mission was unlike any other in human history. "Are you ready, Ambassador?" asked Captain Lily Sanchez, the ship's commander. Kevin nodded. "As ready as anyone can be for something never done before." He smiled slightly. "Remember your instructions. No matter what happens, maintain position. But take no aggressive action." "Understood, sir," Captain Sanchez replied. "Good luck." Minutes later, Kevin and a small security team boarded a shuttle to the Council station. They had not been invited, but they also hadn't been denied entry. The Council was still trying to understand how to deal with this unprecedented situation. When Kevin entered the Council chamber, unannounced and uninvited, all conversation stopped. Hundreds of alien representatives turned to stare at the human in their midst. Security guards moved toward him, but a quick signal from Vrax stopped them. Kevin walked calmly to the center of the chamber where visiting dignitaries were permitted to address the Council. He showed no fear, despite being the first human to stand before the assembled power of the galaxy. "Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council," he began, his voice clear and confident. "I am Ambassador Kevin Wright of Earth. I come with a message from my world." Vrax leaned forward in his seat. "You were not invited to address this council, human." Kevin smiled politely. "Just as your ships were not invited into Earth's solar system, High Counselor. Yet here we both are." A murmur ran through the chamber. Some representatives seemed shocked at the human's boldness, while others struggled to hide their amusement. "Earth has a simple message," Kevin continued. "We seek peaceful relations with all galactic species. We wish to share knowledge, engage in trade, and build mutual understanding, but we will only do so as equals." He turned slowly, making eye contact with representatives from different species. "Earth rejects the outdated model of protectorates and masters. We believe all sentient species deserve self-determination and respect." A council member from the Taurian Empire, one of the founding species alongside Vrax's people, stood up angrily. "You primitives dare to lecture us on galactic governance? The Council has maintained peace for thousands of years." "Has it?" Kevin asked calmly. "Or has it maintained control? Our analysis of Council historical records shows that many of your protectorates have lost significant cultural heritage, resource rights, and independence over time." Behind the scenes, Linda Carter monitored the Council chamber from Earth's intelligence headquarters. Screens around her showed live feeds from hidden cameras Ambassador Wright had brought into the council chamber. Each camera was scanning the reactions of different species to the human speech. "Mark the Arcosians and Mendari," she instructed her team, both showing strong positive responses to our message. Her assistant nodded, tagging the relevant species in their database. "Should we proceed with making contact?" Linda watched the screens carefully. "Yes. Begin Phase 2 of diplomatic outreach. Focus on those species that show the most interest in our message of equality." Back in the council chamber, Kevin continued his address. Earth proposes a new model of galactic cooperation, one based on mutual respect, technological exchange, and guaranteed independence for all member worlds. He activated a small holographic projector, displaying a diagram of his proposal. "We call it the Federation of Sovereign Worlds. Each member would maintain complete autonomy while participating in shared defense, research, and economic growth." The key chamber was now completely silent. What the human was proposing was revolutionary, a direct challenge to the council's authority and structure. "This is outrageous," Vrax finally said. "The council has brought stability to the galaxy for millennia. Your proposal would bring chaos." "Would it?" Kevin asked. "Or would it bring true cooperation instead of submission? I invite all interested species to send representatives to Earth for further discussion." Before Vrax could respond, representatives from several species stood up, including the Arcosians and Mendari. Others followed suit, until nearly a third of the chamber was standing. Vrax stared in shock. The human's words had found fertile ground among species that had long chafed under council rule, but had never dared to speak out. "This council session is adjourned," Vrax declared hurriedly. "No decisions will be made on the human proposal without proper deliberation." But it was too late. As the chamber emptied, representatives from dozens of species approached Kevin, eager to learn more about Earth's proposal. The seeds of change had been planted. On her ship, Captain Sanchez received an encrypted message from Earth Command. "Ambassador Wright has succeeded," she told her crew. "Phase 4 of Operation Defiance is now active. Across the galaxy, carefully planted human agents made contact with resistance movements on council worlds. The message was always the same. Earth stands, ready to recognize your independence. The time for change has come." 3 days later, Kevin returned to Earth a hero. President Clark greeted him personally at the landing pad. "Well done, Ambassador," the president said. "How many species have agreed to attend our conference?" Kevin smiled. 27 so far, sir, and more are reaching out every hour. The council is in complete disarray. Some members are demanding reform, others are threatening to break away entirely." President Clark nodded. "And the species that have suffered the most under council rule? The Arcosians and Mendari have already declared their intention to reject council authority and join our federation. Others will follow soon." For the first time since the crisis began, President Clark allowed himself to truly smile. Humanity had not only defended itself, but had begun to reshape the galactic order, all without firing a single lethal shot. The diplomatic revolution had begun. 6 months after Earth's successful defense against the Council fleet, the red landscape of Mars shimmered under the dome of the newly built Federation headquarters. The massive transparent structure housed representatives from 24 species, most of them former Council protectorates who had declared independence. Admiral Alice Howard, recently promoted from commander, stood beside President Clark on the raised platform. Below them, the assembly hall was filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some had skin like bark, others scales or feathers. Some breathed different mixtures of gases requiring special masks. But all shared one thing in common. They had chosen freedom over council rule. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history," President Clark said, his voice carried by translators to all delegates. "The Federation of Sovereign Worlds is no longer just an idea. Today, it becomes reality." A cheer went up from the gathered representatives. Many of their worlds had lived under council control for centuries, some for millennia. Now they were free, and Earth had helped make it possible. Alice looked out at the crowd, still amazed by how quickly things had changed. In just 6 months, nearly a third of the Council's subject species had declared independence, some peacefully, others through revolution. The Council, once all-powerful, was struggling to maintain control of its remaining territories. After the President's speech, Alice made her way through the crowd, greeting various delegates. She had become something of a hero to many of them, the military leader who had proven the Council could be defeated. "Admiral Howard," called a voice behind her. She turned to see Krell, the Arcosian representative. His bark-like skin had intricate patterns carved into it, signifying his status as an elder. "Elder Krell," she greeted him with the traditional Arcosian gesture of respect, right hand over heart, then extended outward. "I bring news from our homeworld," Krell said, his translator converting his rumbling speech to English. "The last Council forces have withdrawn from Arcosian space. We are truly free for the first time in 12 generations." Alice smiled. "That's wonderful news, Elder. Has there been any retaliation?" "None," Krell replied. "The Council is too busy dealing with uprisings on multiple worlds. They no longer have the resources to reclaim those who have left." As they spoke, Dr. Patricia Miller approached them, carrying a data tablet. She had become the Federation's chief xenoanthropologist, responsible for helping the different species understand each other's cultures and customs. "Admiral Elder Krell," she greeted them. "I hope I'm not interrupting, but I have some interesting findings to share." Alice gestured for her to continue. "I've been translating ancient Arcosian texts," Dr. Miller explained. "With Elder Krell's help, we've discovered something fascinating. There are legends, dating back thousands of years, of a species that would, one day, break the chains binding the stars." Krell nodded, his movements slow and deliberate as was customary for his species. "The prophecy of liberation. For generations we believed it was just a myth, a story to give hope to those living. Under Council rule," he turned to Alice, his eyes, 3 glowing amber orbs fixed on her face. "Yet here you are, humans, the chain breakers." Alice felt uncomfortable. "We didn't set out to fulfill any prophecy, Elder. We just wanted to protect our independence." "Perhaps that is why you succeeded where others failed," Krell said. "You did not seek to overturn the Galactic Order. You simply refused to submit to it. And in doing so, you changed everything." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message on Alice's communicator. "Admiral Howard, please report to security immediately." Alice excused herself and hurried to the security center, where Captain Ryan Bennett was waiting. He commanded the Joint Human-Alien Security Force protecting the Federation headquarters. "What's the situation, Captain?" she asked as she entered the room. Ryan brought up a holographic display showing the solar system. "We've detected multiple ships entering the system, Admiral. Council signatures." Alice felt her heart rate increase. "Hostile?" "Doesn't appear so," Ryan replied. "They're maintaining distance and have transmitted a request for diplomatic talks." "Any weapons signatures?" "None active. And our quantum sensors would detect if they tried to power up." The quantum sensors were based on Dr. Taylor's breakthrough technology, now shared with all Federation members. Alice nodded. "Who's aboard?" According to their transmission, High Counselor Vrax himself. This was unexpected, the head of the Galactic Council, coming to Earth. "Inform the President. I want double security and all defense systems at ready status." 3 hours later, Alice stood in the meeting room as Vrax entered. The alien leader seemed diminished somehow. His blue skin had lost some of its luster, and he moved with less confidence than during their first meeting on Earth. "Admiral Howard," he said, his translator conveying his words. "We meet again under very different circumstances." "Indeed, High Counselor," Alice replied formally. "Welcome to the Federation headquarters." President Clark entered along with key human and alien representatives of the Federation. They all took seats around the large table. "Let's dispense with formalities," Vrax said. "I'm here because the Council can no longer ignore the reality of the situation. Nearly 1/3 of our member worlds have joined your Federation. Others, are threatening to follow. The galactic order we maintained for thousands of years is collapsing. No one spoke. They all knew this, but hearing the High Counselor admit it was still shocking. I have been authorized to propose a treaty, Vrax continued. The Council will formally recognize the Federation of Sovereign Worlds as an equal power in the galaxy. We will respect the independence of all worlds that have chosen to join you. In return, we ask for peace and open trade between our territories. President Clark leaned forward. And the remaining Protectorate worlds under Council control? Vrax's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. We are restructuring our relationship with them. Each world will be granted more autonomy, while maintaining beneficial ties to the Council. Alice could hardly believe what she was hearing. The mighty Council forced to reform by human example. We will consider your proposal, High Counselor, President Clark said. But any agreement must include guarantees of self-determination for all sentient species. After the meeting, Alice walked with Dr. Miller along the edge of the Martian dome. Below them, the red planet's surface stretched to the horizon, already showing signs of the terraforming project that had begun. Do you think the Council will actually change? Dr. Miller asked. Alice watched as Vrax's shuttle departed for his ship in orbit. They don't have much choice. The old way of doing things is over. Whether they wanted it or not, humanity has changed. The galaxy forever. She thought about how quickly everything had happened. Less than a year ago, humans had been alone in the solar system, unaware of the galactic community. Now they stood at the center of a new galactic order, one based on freedom rather than control. Not bad for a species that was supposed to be primitive, she said with a smile. As the sun set over the Martian landscape, lighting the dome with red and gold, Alice wondered what new challenges awaited. Humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage. The next chapter would be even more interesting.